Welcome traders, Hubert here from Elite Currency. Today's video will give you a short-term analysis about the US CAD, so let's get going. So here we have in front of us the US dollar CAD chart of the 4-hour time frame, zoomed out quite a lot. And I talked about this also in a previous written post on Elite Currency, but I thought I'll give you today a shorter term video on what's happening right now in a small moment. But to start off, let's quickly recap what I'm seeing here. I've been monitoring this currency pair quite a lot since late 2017, since this low here, because it started to develop a very interesting structure which could lead to a lot more gains in the near future for the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. And so I've been monitoring this for medium-term trade opportunities. Some of you may recall that when price was about here, around February 2018, I was calling out a potentially major uptrend happening from there, and some trade setups were given here. And as you can see, this unfolded actually really nicely. We're now trading still here, so this trade could still be open if you're in for the longer term. But the reason why I'm thinking that there is potentially a bigger uptrend still on the cards here has to do with what's happened here before. Now, in order to show you that, I have zoomed out quite a lot on the daily chart, showing you the structure all the way back to around 2012. And you can see that we've been in a big uptrend up until 2016. And at that point, price made, from an Elliott wave perspective, a very textbook distinct zigzag to the downside, which has completed at the September 2017 low. So now that we have a zigzag to the downside, either this uptrend is going to continue, or we're going into some other bigger correction pattern here. But whatever the case is, we will need at least a three-wave structure to the upside again. If it's a continuation of uptrend, then this will go much further yet. But even if it's not, we need a three-wave structure here. And what we have produced, therefore, since this 2017 September low is an incomplete structure to the upside. So this developed in a five-wave sequence in an overlapping fashion. And these blue lines show you my scenario that this is a diagonal. And because it is in a wave A or wave 1 position, it means that there has to be another follow through to the upside after some correction here. So this is why I believe this is a very exciting opportunity right now to get into long positions and stay in them for some time, at least until one entire impulse here is complete. That's what I myself am going to do. So with that in mind, let's take a look again at what's happening closer up and to see if there are some trade entries and options on the horizon or not. Here we are back on the 4-hour chart. Just to quickly recap what I'm seeing here. So this has a distinct three-wave internal structure that is repeating in a fashion that makes it a valid diagonal as a potential wave 1 here, or wave A alternatively. Now the key obviously is now to wait for a good completed zone for this downward correction before going long. And what I can see so far that has developed since this high is actually another diagonal structure to the downside during this wave A, during this corrective wave A. Then we had a very sharp wave and quick wave B. And now, given that this was most likely a diagonal, we need to get a real impulse to the downside in order to make this a valid zigzag. Therefore, there's a good chance that this move is going to go somewhat lower. However, in principle, and this is the somewhat tricky part right now for short-term trading. I'll show you this on the 1-hour chart more closely in a minute. The challenge here is that in principle this is already a complete 5-wave, and it has even broken just slightly below this low of A by a fraction, and so in principle it could be already valid as a complete wave C, and therefore price could go up from here directly, but things are not as clear cut when we look closer. Now we're looking at the most recent price action from the 1 hour chart perspective. You can see here this diagonal again within wave A. And the reason why things are becoming tricky now is because if you look at this movement here, we have a very clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave impulse. But it is a bit short on the one hand relative to this move. It's also still at the shallower fibs, 38.2 of this entire big diagonal of this minor wave 1. And in addition, we also need to bear in mind the general guidelines for how far a wave C goes relative to wave A. And if we use our Fibonacci extension tool to work this out, then we can see that generally the minimum size that wave C is relative to wave A is the 61.8% ratio. But more often than not, it is leans more towards equality, so at 100 here. And in addition to that, like I said before, the Fibonacci levels of the entire minor wave 1 that have been retraced so far are a bit shallow. Down here, this purple line where the crosshair is right now is the 50% Fibonacci. This is more likely when we are in a wave 2 or wave B that deeper levels get retraced. So there is a good chance that the correction that we're in right now could extend further down, so that this is maybe just the first part of a bigger impulse. However, we can't know this for sure. We are now having some interesting fundamentals coming up in a couple of hours. Inflation reports and retail sales, I believe, are coming out for Canada. This will provide some volatility, and in the short term we just have to monitor what's happening here now. So if we're starting to see some strong upwards momentum, that it doesn't just look like a three-wave structure, then there's a chance that this could be already over and that the US dollar will start to gain from here onwards against the Canadian dollar. But if this is looking a bit suspiciously like a corrective pattern, then I would hold my fire and I would wait for this to drop a bit further. But we need to be a bit more patient to see what price action does after these reports in the next trading day or so, and then we can maybe see if there is a good trading opportunity there. If it does drop further, then I will wait for basically a 5-wave impulse that sees this as the first one of it, so before I would enter. If this starts to develop upwards from here in an interesting fashion, then we need to analyze more closely what's happening here to then consider jumping on board at an interesting opportunity. The third alternative could be, if you want to enter a trade with a generous stop, you could consider entering around now, or if price drops further briefly at the news event, to enter at a low point, but to adjust your trade size volume accordingly so that you can allow yourself a bigger stop without risking too much, without staying in your risk management protocols. That's also an option for more patient traders, or for traders who don't mind the trade potentially going into minus for some time before it swings around. In that case, I would put stops at least below this fib line of the 50%, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, this is the 50 fib line. It also coincides with the support area here. So this is not a bad area to put your stops below here, maybe around 127 or so, should you want to do this. I personally will wait to get more price action before I will act. But this is the short-term picture for the US CAD. Keep your eyes open and stay alert, because good trading opportunities should be around the corner. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this analysis of the US CAD. If you want to find out more about Elite Currency, visit our website elitecurrency.com. We have 2 well-developed trading systems available to purchase and to also follow as a live trading setups channel. CAD and the SWAT system both have their interests and suit different kinds of traders. So check out our website for more information. I hope you enjoy your weekend and wish you all the best. Bye bye.